Let's look at some winners and losers from the first couple of days of free agency. And I'll start here because the big winner for me is the Houston Rockets. The Rockets, they've been transparent over the last few months. I was down there in the early part of the year working on a story on Amen Thompson. And I talked to Rockets officials about kind of what they were looking for out of this season. And really the big thing was information. Like they were looking for data. They wanted to see what worked with this young group and what didn't. Who played well together and who didn't. What this team needed and what it didn't. They were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference last year, but that was kind of house money they were playing with at that time. It was like, wow, we went from a team that was in the play-in last year to a team, now the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, get beat in the first round, but whatever. It wasn't the year that they were hoping to contend for a championship. They weren't ready for that yet. What they've done with that information that they gathered over the last couple of months is made moves that have made them measurably better. I mean, they go out and they get Kevin Durant. That is exactly what they need. Kevin Durant, pushing 37 years old, is
at
still
a low price. At a
a very low price. Just giving up the 10th overall pick in the draft, the Suns draft Malawach, who I don't see it. I don't see it with Malawach, but that Phoenix is a conversation for another day. They get Kevin Durant, who even pushing 37 is still an elite scorer in the NBA. And I'm of the belief that if they had Kevin Durant on that team instead of Jalen Green, they beat Golden State in the first round. Maybe they go even further. I think Kevin Durant is still that big a difference maker. They lose Dylan Brooks, but they replace him with Dorian Finney-Smith on a 4-year deal, about $53 million. We'll see how much of that is fully guaranteed. I'm not entirely sure. He's kind of, to me, a less versatile but less volatile version of Dylan Brooks, if we can call him that. Good player, still a good player. Used to be able to guard 1 through 4. Now he's kind of guarding 3s and 4s, I think, at this stage, but still a legit 3-and-D guy in this league. Good signing. They signed Clint Capella, I guess, in case Steven Adams goes down again. They bring Fred VanVleet back on what was a team-friendly deal. They have hit right on everything, I think, with this team. They now have a team that looks like it should be, at worst, the 3rd best team in the Western Conference next year, at least in terms of the playoff field, in terms of contenders. Oklahoma City's at number 1. We're going to get to Denver. I think they're right there at number 2. But the Houston Rockets, with the additions they made, I'm really impressed by what Rafael Stone, that front office, did down in Houston. What do you think?
100%. I think I have them right now as the biggest challenger to the Thunder in the West. You mentioned,
which is saying something because you are a Denver
and we're gonna get
fan.
We're gonna get to my Nuggets, I think, next here. But first of all, I don't know what Fred VanVleet did this team an incredible solid. I mean, obviously he gets a little flexibility and maybe an opportunity to make back some of the money he's turning down. And wasn't a great market for free agents this year, but for him to take that deal, I mean, they're well positioned. And beyond that, you mentioned gathering data. They now have until February to gather more data. I think Clint Capella is someone who could be a trade chip for them down the line. Same with Steven Adams. All the young guys that they had that they theoretically are saving for a potential Giannis pursuit, which is still in play. They still have, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason, a bunch of guys who are intriguing, a lot of picks. It's just been a fantastic offseason for them, top to bottom. I agree, huge winner.
Reed Shepherd, by the way, who, if you talk to people in Houston, they still believe that he's an excellent player. He only played I think 52 games last year, averaged 4 points. They believe there's a potential star in Reed Shepherd. He was in the G League a lot, but they believe that his year 2, year 3 of Reed Shepherd is going to be a lot better. Fred VanVleet, I get it. He did them a favor in a way, but was there really a market for Fred VanVleet at $25 million per year after the year that he had? Fred VanVleet was never getting the 3rd year of that team option. Maybe there was some consideration of it if everything didn't kind of go their way, but he was very unlikely to get the full $40 million. Now he's guaranteed 50 over 2 to, play as a starting point guard for a contender. So he's getting a lot out of that deal as well. I just think their depth is really impressive now. If Reed Shepherd can step in, if Tari Eason could take another step forward. They've got room for organic growth here. Like Jabari Smith is going to be better.
Sure,
Amen Thompson is going to be better.
Durant's going to make all those guys' lives so much easier too. I mean, Van Vliet now is not going to be forced to play bailout offense half the game. I mean, Amen Thompson's life just got way easier. It really is, I think, a home run offseason for them, clearly. But to that point, let's talk about the Denver Nuggets, because I think they were my huge winner. And Chris, I think there were some people, not necessarily in the organization, but I'd say people around the team who were a little bit nervous is maybe too strong, but curious to see how things would work out, because they go for this big shakeup right before the end of the season, right? They fire Calvin Booth, they fire Michael Malone, and it looks like they recognize we need a major overhaul here. And then they kind of go internal for these hires. They promote David Adelman after he did a great job in the playoffs. They promote David Adelman to the head job. They hire from within for the front office. And I think some people may be worried, is this going to be more of the same? And the fact that their first move out of the gate is to trade Michael Porter Jr., someone who Josh Kroenke kind of gave a vote of confidence to when he had that Michael Malone press conference. I thought that was a bold move. I thought that was a smart move. I think some people are looking at it like they gave up that first-round pick to get off MPJ's salary. I think Cam Johnson is an upgrade over Michael Porter Jr. in terms of what he can do as a movement shooter, coming around handoffs. I think his basketball IQ is better. His defense is not great, but it's definitely an improvement over Michael Porter Jr. Combine that with Bruce Brown, the institutional knowledge. He might not have the highs that Russell Westbrook gave them at times last year. He definitely will not have the lows. The Jonas Valanciunas trade is like sneakily one of the most consequential moves of the offseason. I mean, their backup center in the playoffs last year was DeAndre Jordan. Like, he was getting minutes against the Clippers in the first round. That's a huge upgrade over there. You add in Tim Hardaway Jr. on the minimum. He's a flawed player, but a knockdown three-point shooter. He is going to get the best looks of his life playing with Nikola Jokic. And what's funny about Denver is, like, every signing they make, those players just get a multiplier because they get to play with Jokic and what he can do for them offensively. So considering where they started, the salary position they were in, they had one tradable first, bumping up against the second apron. To get themselves this level of flexibility, that alone is remarkable. But with how close they were to the Thunder last year, I mean, they played the Thunder last year. Michael Porter Jr.'s shoulders falling off. Aaron Gordon didn't have a hamstring by Game 7. They're an incredible spot, and I think they still have room. I'm pulling up Bobby Marks here, who's doing yeoman's work, posting every team's salary situation. They still have some of their tax mid-level left. They still have some of the biennial exception left. They have another move to make if they're willing to pay the tax. So, really impressive.
Which they may not be. They
sure.
are not lavish spenders in Denver. Never had been, which is a little weird given how much money the Kroenke family has. But they, I agree with everything you said there. I am not going to slander Michael Porter Jr. I am not here for any Michael Porter Jr. slander. I mean, the guy...
A champion. No,
the guy helped them win a championship. And, for all the talk about his back issues early in his career, dude played 77 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
He played 81 games the year before that. He can obviously play opposite Nikola Jokic. I think there are reasons to believe that Cam Johnson could be a better fit. He's not... Look, Michael Porter Jr. is not a good defender. In fact, he's a bad defender. I have not yet seen anything from Cam Johnson to make me believe he's a high-level defender, so maybe he's a little bit better, but I don't know that he's some kind of dramatic improvement on that end. He is a better playmaker. I think he averaged a career high in assists last year in Brooklyn, like 4-something per game, so that adds another ingredient. But we have to see how Cam Johnson fits opposite Jokic and Murray and Gordon. Like, we know Porter Jr. could do it. We're assuming that Cam Johnson could do it. But more importantly, like, the biggest problem with the Nuggets last year was that they didn't have anybody that Michael Malone trusted and, to a lesser degree, David Adelman trusted. Like, they were a 5-man unit with a bunch of other guys that occasionally got tossed into the mix. Like Russell Westbrook when he was playing well, Peyton Watson when he was playing well. They didn't have, veterans that you can count on. Now they do. I mean, Bruce Brown took his $40 million that he got in that new deal for winning a championship with Denver, disappeared into the basketball wilderness over the last couple of years, playing on 3 teams, getting moved around, renting apartments in Indiana, Toronto, and New Orleans. Now he goes back, making minimum level money, but he's going to a team that he understands. A coaching staff that with David Adam, who was there under Michael Malone, knows how to utilize him. A star in Jokic that's comfortable playing off of, like a locker room that he obviously fits into. I think that's a great pickup for the Denver Nuggets, and a guy that will immediately play some of the minutes that went to some of the young guys when Christian Braun was out of the lineup. Tim Hardaway Jr., on a minimum contract. Phenomenal signing for Denver. I saw the Synergy Sports stats. Tim Hardaway Jr. made 63% of his open spot-up three-pointer attempts last season. You think he's going to get a few of those in Denver?
He's going from a team with awful spacing to, if he's playing alongside Cam Johnson and Jamal Murray, now all of a sudden the court is just way more wide open for him than it's ever been.
Well, this is the thing. This is like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, when he went to Orlando, was not the same shooter.
Right.
Because he didn't have the same kind of room. You play with Jokic, Murray, and Porter Jr., all of a sudden, you're getting wide open looks from the corner. Tim Hardaway Jr., I think is going to have a banner year playing for Denver and sliding right into that role. Valanciunas, good fit, kind of Jokic light in a way. He'll give you a little bit offensively, doesn't really do anything defensively, can't switch on anybody, but really neither could Jokic. So you just it kind of is what it is there. But he gives you a big, physical, durable body that can play minutes and give Jokic a break. Jokic played a lot of minutes last season, had a lot of stress on him offensively and defensively. Maybe Valanciunas can take some of that stress away. I love everything Denver has done. And look, maybe cross your fingers, one of these young guys that has not lived up to expectations. Right. Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther.
I do wonder if Watson and Strawther, they each had a moment in that Thunder series where it looked like it was coming together for them. They weren't great for the whole series, but I wonder if you have to hope, if you're a Nuggets fan, that unlocked something for them moving forward.
Yeah. All right. Well, Denver was my other winner as well. The third winner I've got is the Atlanta Hawks. And what an outstanding few months on the job for Ansi Sala and his front office in Atlanta, who has, they have just won, it feels like, every trade and every transaction that they've been involved in. They trade for Kristaps Porzingis. They benefit greatly from Boston waving the white flag and saying next season is over with. They signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker, benefiting from Minnesota not having enough money and cap flexibility to go and sign him. They get Luke Kennard, elite three-point shooter, should play really well opposite Trae Young. And they do that draft day deal with New Orleans where, all right, they don't have the opportunity to draft Derek Queen, who I'm not big on. And I said this on the last show, I'm not a huge Derek Queen guy. And in exchange, they get a pick, which could be a top 5 pick in next summer's NBA draft. So a phenomenal run for this Atlanta front office. And look, this really is, a one-year experiment where it's let's see what Trae Young can do with real talent around him. We're going to load up. We got Porzingis on an expiring contract. Alexander Walker, good deal. We could always trade him if it doesn't go well this year. Luke Kennard on a one-year deal as well. This is really, I look at it as sending a message to Trae Young that, we haven't put the right talent around you up until this point. Some of it's worked, some of it hasn't worked. Some of the pieces we've acquired have been a mixed bag. This is a group of players that Trae Young should thrive with. I love the fit of Jalen Johnson and Kristaps Porzingis. I love the fit of Kristaps Porzingis and Trae Young. I think guys like Alexander Walker bring a defensive identity to that team. He can also make shots. Luke Kennard, he can make shots. I just think they're pushing their chips in on Trae Young and saying, Trae, you got 1 year in a crappy Eastern Conference to show us that you can be the leader of a conference winning team. How do you look at it?
I want to ask you a question at the end of this book because, can they win the East? I think that's very much in play. You think about when they had the run to the conference finals, and that was a weird season of a variety of factors. But what did they have? They had a great pick and roll partner for Trae Young and Clint Capella, and they had a bunch of just capable wings around him. Jalen Johnson, I thought was going to be most improved last year before he got hurt. He was having a fantastic season.
He's going to be an all-star next year.
Yes.
He's going to be an all-star next year.
He's really, really good. I mean, they have an opportunity to play Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson all together. Like, that I think is probably going to be the best defense that they've had around.
As a ball-hawking defense all game long.
It is going to be so good. I mean, watching these last two postseasons, Nickeil Alexander-Walker picking up guys full court, I thought he was going to get more money this offseason. I thought he was going to be a guy that someone's paying $20 million a year, and I think he would have deserved it. That's a great deal for them. Now, Porzingis has not been the same player since you coughed on him or like whatever it is that happened to him. So I would need to ask you, I am genuinely curious what your expectation is for him this year. I think you had the tweet that was like contract year Porzingis is going to ball out, which I think I agree with that. So that's the one wild card here. But even with that, they have Onyeka Okongwu coming off the bench, presumably now. I think he's always been a good young piece. They drafted a big Newell, right? He's more of a forward type. So they have a lot of interesting pieces here. And to your point, like expiring deals, they have some movement. I'm more curious, where do you stack them in the East right now? Like better or worse than the Magic? Because I think I'm also really high on the Magic.
Yeah, the Magic, because the Magic's backbone is their defense, and because I believe even without the addition that they made with Desmond Bane, they would have been better because the injuries killed the Magic last year. Like they were off to a great start of the season before their guys got hurt, their front court got hurt. I'd probably slot them behind the Magic. I'd slot them behind the Knicks. I'd slot them behind the Cavaliers for now till we see exactly what the Cavaliers are going to do if there's another move to be made in Cleveland. But I think they're a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. And I think that once you get into the playoffs, they're capable of beating all those teams. It's not like there's a team above them that's like, well, you can't touch them. You want to avoid them in the first round. Like they get, Cleveland the first round or the second round, they could beat them. Same thing with New York. Same thing with Orlando. So, fully healthy, I'd probably slot them in at 4 right now in the Eastern Conference. Porzingis is interesting. I do think contract year Porzingis is real. I saw it with my own eyes in Washington. Washington, brief stint down there. What did he average with the Wizards? 22.1 points. Shot 37.
Kind of unreal that year.
Yeah, he had a good run. That was his first year there. And then second year, he plays 65 games, averages 23 points, shoots 39% from 3, almost 50% from the floor. Goes to Boston, immediately gets a contract extension. It's worth noting that, he was reasonably healthy. 57 games isn't great in that first year in Boston, but I mean, he was pretty healthy during the year and helped the Celtics turn into what they were in the regular season. And his contributions, albeit, they were small, they were vital to the Celtics' success. Game 1 of the finals, he was unbelievable. And he is still, at his best, just a complete mismatch at the elbow, right?
Yeah, he's an ultimate matchup problem for almost every team in the league when he's at his best. I mean, you can't, if you switch a smaller guy, to your point, he'll shoot right over him at the elbow. The pick and pop threes, I don't know how you're going to guard him and Trae Young if Porzingis is really firing with the level of three-point shooting you'll have between them and who else is on the floor. And we haven't mentioned Risa Shea, who I thought the second half of last year, he was like so anonymous the first half that I think a lot of people just stopped watching the Hawks and stopped paying attention to him. And there was all this hype around, Stephon Castle and all these people. He was really good the second half of the year. He's a guy who can take, I think, a leap in his second season.
Yeah, I'm looking at his splits in the second half of the year. Post All-Star, it was about 15 points per game. That's up about 4. Shot 41% from 3 in the second half of the season. Shot almost 50% from the floor. So if that is a sign of things to come, there's no reason to believe it isn't. Like the biggest leap, or one of the biggest leaps guys take, is between that first and second year when they get all the information that comes with being a rookie, a full season in the weight room, working with coaches to figure out what you need to work on. Look, he's going to take a leap forward. So there's room for organic growth there as well. Like Porzingis, I'm going to assume that a full off season, he's going to get over whatever the hell he was dealing with. I have no idea what was the root cause of whatever I don't even want to speculate on what are some of the things that it could have been, but like whatever the illness was that prevented him from being 100% during Boston's playoff run, it was a huge problem for him, for the Celtics. I'm going to guess a full offseason will probably resolve that. And if he's healthy and you can get 65 games out of him and you can get a full playoff run, they're a problem. They're a team that's going to compete for a top 3 spot probably in the Eastern Conference. And, who knows how the chemistry comes together for there. But I love everything that Atlanta's done.